The Annihilators, Big Finish's first seven-part Season 7 story, part of the Big Finish relaunch in 2022. Now, me and Luke, we've talked about this story a lot, and I think over the years, The Annihilators is sort of being its own sort of scale. Every time Big Finish release a Season 7 audio, we can't help but compare it to The Annihilators. And that's got us thinking, is The Annihilators our favourite Big Finish story ever?
Yes, there's something strange going on up in Lugate docks as the Brigadier is investigating a police car that has driven itself into the water and some green sludge is bubbling away under the surface. The Doctor, meanwhile, is tinkering with the TARDIS, where some strange gravitational anomalies start occurring. Something is going wrong with time, and his former self seems to be taunting him from the ether, which eventually drives him and Liz Shaw up to the Brigadier to help with his investigations. As we get some police conspiracies, some sludge monsters on the moors, and some old friends dropping by to say hello in the form of the Second Doctor and an older Jamie McCrimmon. Yes, this release ties in with the Beyond War Games arc that the Second Doctor Ventures has going on at the moment. And I mean, it was our first little
Glimpse at
glimpse
it.
into, yeah, this
Mm.
came out before the first box set, Beyond War Games.
And a year
Uh,
before we got the Second Doctor and Jamie
mm,
reuniting. So I think
yeah,
this takes place just before the Green Man in that
yeah,
set.
yeah, between those first two stories. Which, I mean, it was funny looking back because it sort of feels like this doesn't necessarily line up in some ways.
No, no, no. It feels
Yeah,
completely different to what we
yeah,
get with the Beyond War game stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it definitely feels like they're making that up as they go along. But we're not talking about that today.
We're going to talk
W-
about some good Big Finish here.
hmm. With something that, despite the presence of the Second Doctor and Jamie here, something that was held back a bit at first. It was originally just announced as a seven-part season seven story with the
Exciting enough.
Doctor. Yeah. I mean, it was almost a disappointment to us when this announcement of the second Doctor and Jamie appearing a bit came along because we figured, oh, that sort of ruins the season seven
Mm.
tone. That's not quite what we wanted. We just wanted a regular old season seven story, not a multi-Doctor story. But it gets the season seven vibe down to a T, more so than
I think
any
it's the
other they've
best.
done. It You can hear the film grain again,
You
our
can,
favorite saying with
especially in
this.
the dock yard.
Mm,
I think that's where it's very striking. And I think just from the moment the story starts, I just thought, you know what, this is something special. And I was a little bit scared about revisiting this story, a bit like Peter Capaldi with the Web Planet, because I'm like, what happens if it's not as good as how I remember it? Spoilers, it's still as good as I remember it.
yeah, you've got so many wonderful visuals early on
The
implanted into your head of the Docklands themselves, that
mm,
post-nuclear industrial Gothic trademark Stephen Noonan vibe
yes.
that it has going for it. It's such a wonderful setting up north as well, just to add that little bit of extra bitter cold in
Mm,
case you needed it in Britain. And the images of the panda cars and driving into the water there, the green sludge bubbling away,
very
feels,
Inferno.
yeah, very
Um,
50s, very much taken from X the Unknown as well. I think
mm.
there's some influences there of Quatermass-esque um, styles that Nick Briggs has leaned on in the same way that Derek Sherwin originally leaned on those serials for inspiration when he came to bring the Doctor down to Earth in season seven.
And I think that it makes it feel like its own season seven entity by using that sort of blueprint, I feel. And I think that's
Mm,
why it's so evocative of that era, because it's
yeah,
magpieing something.
But
there
it
what they would have
doesn't.
done.
Yeah, you don't look at this and think, "Oh, this is an on Inferno," or "This is an on
No.
Silurians." It feels like its own thing. Yeah, at the same time, still very much with that season seven DNA to it. It does feature the little mid-title sequence scene
Hmm.
before the final bit. That the same way that Ambassadors of Death does.
Just about the
Uh,
twang.
yeah, it moves the twang to give it a bit of its own identity, but to be honest, I don't think you needed that here. I think with Unzal Incursion and Intelligence for War, it works. In those stories, they feel a bit more Ambassadors-esque.
Hmm.
I think I could have done without it just to keep that unique feel that um, that sequence offers,
I think it
rather than
works
making it a more.
depending on the cliffhanger reprisal.
Hmm.
I think that's where it works. It either works or it doesn't for
uh,
me.
I just think it homogenizes season seven a bit.
Hmm.
It takes away the fact that that was just one serial that had it, and that was partly why it was special.
Yeah.
Like Inferno has its own little bespoke sequence with the lava flow.
Maybe you could have like the slime, like the sludge
Yeah, it's
sound effects
bubbling
of
away
that.
or something.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, just something to give it a different vibe. Whereas that it just feels like, oh, they did that once in season seven. We might as well do it here. As a negative, I've had to come up with one that does jump out at me. But ultimately, that's just a minor thing in execution rather
Hmm.
than anything else. Yeah, I mean, it going back to the multi-Doctor angle, it's still very much a Third Doctor story. There's a reason this is in the Third Doctor Adventures range. It
Yes.
is very much the Third Doctor story, guest starring the Second Doctor, which I think is very true to how
It,
John Pertwee would have
he would have
wanted it.
wanted, yes, especially, yeah, because if you look at it, it probably wouldn't have happened in season seven, but it's just a nice little fan thing to have, isn't it?
Hmm.
Really, because it just seems like a wrong thing to do for like a Doctor's first season to have like the previous incarnation there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I
But
think this gets a lot of things right. I think Mark Elstop's a particular highlight, playing one of like this sort of suspicious Doctor character who I feel like he's very
yeah,
much
Dr. Daniels.
channeling Peter Miles and Michael Wisher
He
in
knows his
this.
era.
Yeah, and it feels
He's a
very
fan himself.
there. You can just picture those actors in that role. It's great.
Hmm. Yeah, you can hear him saying, "Thank you. That's what I wanted to know,"
Yeah,
can't you, when he's doing his Dr. Daniels voice.
yeah, it's great, and that's not the only role he plays. He plays one of the alien species within it, the Greshnor,
Hmm.
which are the slime creatures, which are wonderful, wonderful sort of imagery there. And then you've got the other alien species, the Helt.
Hmm.
Which
You
ones do you
can't.
trust? Got to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah. He also plays Sergeant Major Roach,
Yeah.
who is very different from his other voices. And
Hmm.
yeah, he's got such a versatile voice. Fraser Hines as Jamie is rather
Him
an
and Liz
artist.
are great. They're an unexpected dynamic, which you think that shouldn't work, but it works wonderfully.
Hmm. Yeah, the second Doctor takes a back seat for a lot of this, but Jamie does get to put some work in.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I think Fraser's given some strong material in this. There's some nice invasion callbacks there. You've got the Brig and Jamie meeting, and that's just wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's a very exciting story. There's a lot of tension building as time's going awry, natural disasters start occurring. It's building up to something rather neat, but I don't know if the resolution of it quite rings true to me now.
Hmm.
I think on re-listen, it's a very special story early on when the mystery is building. But as it goes on, it's funny, the fact that the mystery was obvious the first time never really bothered me as much. But on this re-listen, I sort of feel like it does detract from it a bit because it's written in a way that the characters are made to, never ask the right questions. It's
Yeah.
not that they're being stupid, it's that they're just being written to avoid the subject on purpose so much so that it feels painful.
Hmm.
It's like, the answer is screaming them right there in the face, but they've got to draw out the tension until the end. And so, yeah, it's just, it didn't quite work for me as much as it used to. And maybe I'm not suspending my disbelief enough for it, but
Yeah, I think that's where the Annihilator sort of does crumble because I think it builds so wonderfully with the whole sort of mystery of sort of the gravity and all that. But yeah, the
mm,
resolution does. It's not like the Ambassador of Death, but it does sort of feel like everything's sort of put back in the box very neatly, like, which is a little
mm,
bit disappointing.
I'm a bit let down by it in the second half. I think, the atmosphere is still there. It's got great sequences throughout, but plot-wise, it does turn up a bit more on the weaker side as things progress. Uh, but I still think it's got some wonderful imagery and
Hmm.
sequences, such as on the moors,
The
at
TARDIS
a
in the middle of the
little.
road and the car swerving it. Yeah, that's just sort of so
Yeah,
striking.
mm, it still goes by fairly quickly. As a seven-parter, they're quite short parts,
Which I,
which lends to it.
yeah,
Uh,
I think that really helps the early episodes when sort of time's going awry. Like it's only been a couple of hours yet, it's nighttime. Like it really pushes that sort of effect that something's happening here really well.
mm, and it makes you sit there and go, I can stick on one more episode.
Yeah.
It's one you fly through still.
Hmm.
I mean, out of 10, what would you rate it?
I still love it. I'll still give it a 9.
Uh, I'd probably go 9 or 8. I
I
think,
think the
yeah, I'm
vibes
leaning
carry
8.
it.
I'm leaning 8.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's definitely one where it lays on the atmosphere so thick in the first half. I mean, just look at the cover.
Hmm.
That just sells you on it alone. And I think it definitely carries those vibes with it throughout.
It was a
Uh,
great benchmark for Big Finish's 7-parters, I would say.
hmm,
Like it set like a golden standard, I would say.
yeah, I think it's the one that gets the seven parters the most right.
Hmm.
I, on the whole, I'd still say pick it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's still one of my favorite audios.
Yeah. So that is us talking about the Annihilators. It's something we've done before
A
in
lot.
different videos. It's something we probably will do again. But this is a 3-year check-in, I suppose, to look back at it, because season
Celebrate it.
seven
Yeah.
dropped recently. You may not have noticed. Uh, yeah, this little story was advertised in the little merchandise booklet you get with that. So if you're wondering, oh, what's that all about? Now you know, and you can go
Hmm.
check it out to find out more.
And yeah, please let us know your thoughts on the Annihilators if you've listened to it. Or whatever. Very interested to know your thoughts on that, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.